That's 8.
Why did you sound like you were drunk?
Because, so it was me. Yeah, it was, just them being them. Yeah, yeah, because it was me, 3 other girls, and my brother.
Oh boy.
And it was just, yeah, it was crazy. And it was 11:30, so we're all completely slap happy.
Slap happy.
Yeah. And we didn't know what we wanted. And my brother, he doesn't know how to talk to drive-through people. He really doesn't. Anytime he orders, he's like, he like stutters or he slurs all of his words.
That's me.
You know, we're live right now, just to make sure.
It's okay.
That's me when I talk to
It's-
strangers.
It's stuff, it's
That's me when I try
it's
to
not
walk
unusual, you'd say the same thing to him directly, right?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. You guys have your homework?
Uh-oh. Yeah, we have my
I
homework
finished it this morning.
I don't like them, but we never have them.
For once, I don't have a assignment to carry over next week.
We were at Starbucks one day and me and my church friends were going to get some water. And this guy was like, what can I get for you? And I'm like, I couldn't speak. I have that same problem. Making the people I try to order to us.
That's rude.
I tried to like just
Dude, you get a water?
Yeah.
Mom orders for me when we go to restaurants.
It's not as bad like when you know what you want, but when you don't know what you want and you're like second in line. Look up at the menu.
Hi.
Oh, yeah. That's what's happening, right?
Mom is gonna be so happy again. I got this.
Uh, Alina,
Hey, that one's like super hard.
I know.
Cool.
Okay, well,
Oh.
I got like all of them wrong right there.
Oh, no. Oh, yay! It's funny how something seems easy and I get most of it wrong, but when something's hard, I get it right. That's weird. That's weird.
I can't.
I don't have to do any.
I promise I'm like with school that I'm always like trying to get a good grade. So it's like I think I overthink.
So, let's talk about what's in the news today.
Canadians are going to the World Series and I freaked out so much.
You freaked out so much?
I did, no, like,
How'd you freak out? Why'd you freak out?
Huh?
You were talking about that in church.
wait, what did you say to me?
Why'd you freak out?
Okay, well, it was partly because I was standing in line for a concert and there was this really insane guy, and that made it like even cooler. But no, also just because I love baseball. I was really serious, and that's awesome.
What concert?
What concert did I go to?
Yeah.
I went to an Anna concert. It was like a Christian rapper with my brother and his friends. That was the night that Burger.
Kind of like with Craig.
Sort of, except he's not at all like that. No. Anna, it's just it's good.
Nah.
They had the last debate.
Wait, there's something happened with my thumb. I think I'm growing.
She has
in
cancer.
I really don't know what it is. It's like a bump on my thumb.
Shut up. It's
Maybe it's
from using
acne.
it too much.
You get acting on your stuff.
You can get cancer from your phone, supposedly.
Supposedly.
That's why you're supposed to use hands-free. Do you keep it in your pockets?
Yeah. I try not to though, because I know that that's bad.
I don't know.
It really hurts. It feels like a splinter.
Probably got a splinter. Maybe you got a shard of
But it's
glass.
off.
Maybe it's infected.
Yeah, maybe it's infected.
I don't see anything.
I got a knife. You want me to cut it?
Oh, oh my goodness.
That's a nice thing.
My brother would love it.
My brother too.
Um,
So I think my favorite part of this week was
Yeah.
that
fundraiser dinner that everyone had.
Yeah?
The candidates, and Donald Trump was like,
Oh,
the news is so biased this year. Like, back in 2008, when Michelle Obama gave the speech, everyone was like, oh my gosh, like, this speech is amazing. But my wife gives it.
the same speech, and
Yeah.
she gives her, yeah, that was pretty good. Did you hear the other one that he said? He goes, yeah, just to say, this was after he said that Hillary was a nasty person. He goes, just before this, I have to say Hillary is a nice person. She bumped into me while we were in the, before coming out here, and she turns to me and goes, pardon me. And it's like, whoa, everybody's like, oh, that's funny, pardon me, I get it.
And that one that, what was it Hillary said, that Trump was very concerned about her health. She was like, Trump's been very concerned about my health. So concerned that he sent a car to pick me up for tonight's banquet. Actually, it was a Hirsch.
Oh, I didn't hear that one.
First I asked my parents what a Hirsch was.
What is
Then I got it. It's
A
like
Hirsch
the
is
that
a-
doctors said.
Ah.
It's where they put, coffins, they put dead people.
Oh, I get it. That's funny.
What did you guys eat? Oh, just chips?
Devin's like, I want some.
Bird.
So, what else is in the news this week? Anything else exciting?
The last debate.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't watch it. Yes.
One word, WikiLeaks.
WikiLeaks? Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna have that big of an impact. It's gonna be interesting. I'm based on the last two presidential elections and where things were working out on those, I don't think Trump's gonna win. Just my own personal analysis on that.
We're all
And
going.
don't let that stop you from voting. Although nobody in here is old enough to vote, so I guess we will. Unless you're a Democrat, then you could vote and often, so. Because did you guys hear about the voter fraud thing that came out? There was a big announcement. They were talking, some leaks came out and some video on one of the guys that helps the Democrats, and he was talking about how they needed to go to Trump rallies and stir up trouble at the Trump rallies so that they would do it in such a way that it would make the Trump people look stupid. And then they're also talking about how they go and they bus people to the polls, and they talked about Indiana and Michigan are like the two easiest states where you can cheat and you do voter fraud and bus people in that aren't residents and get them to vote and stuff like that. So, yeah, could be interesting.
There was this picture that my dad showed me on the internet of like, there's Bill Clinton holding a lamp, and it's like in a graveyard, and Hillary, and it's a Democratic voter registration, and Hillary's like bending over, taking down the name of one of the headstones.
Yeah, it's about right. Did you guys, any of you experience the problems on Friday with your computer?
Yeah.
So people couldn't get on Netflix and stuff like that?
America was so mad. Called them.
That's why my TV wasn't working. I was
Yeah.
so mad. I got home from school like all ready to watch Netflix and it wasn't working.
Three
Hi.
massive cyber attacks on Friday, I believe. I knew of the two, and on my way home, they said there was a third. Now, I don't know, if, I hadn't heard anything more on it, so you never can trust the media to get it right.
But it's
So-
Hillary's fault.
So 3 attacks, and a group from China and Russia were claiming responsibility, some hacker group there for doing it.
They're taking away.
I know, that would really destroy the economy if Netflix went down for a long period of time. They were attacking a certain company that controls a lot of their servers handle Netflix and these other. But yeah, it even had an impact here. Somebody was trying to buy something using their PayPal account, and they thought maybe we were blocking PayPal. I'm like, no, we're not blocking PayPal. So they couldn't get on and use their PayPal account. So that was the other kind of exciting news. Of course, tomorrow night, Game 1, World Series.
I haven't got tickets to that.
Yeah, but.
1908.
They were.
Or serious.
Yeah, $100 for standing.
Oh my gosh. I heard they were like over
There's some that are over
For standing.
You're lying.
$800, yeah.
Just watching on your TV.
That's not as fun, guys.
Yes, it is.
It's
Better
not.
if you're not surrounded by a bunch of screaming
You're
people.
not.
That's what makes it
Boom!
fun.
Tell me updates, because it wouldn't be appropriate. And now I can't figure out how to change it, so I'm stuck like with sports news unless I want to just hear music.
Oh, you better do so.
I don't want sports.
So, so the last time the Cubs have won is 1908, and then the last time the Indians won was 1948. So that'll be interesting to see how that works out. I mean, we're almost looking at 108 years for the Chicago Cubs. Then the last time they were in the World Series
I don't even make
was
that much.
World War II.
Come on.
Think about that. World
That's kinda-
War II.
Yeah.
At least that's what somebody was telling me. I didn't get a chance to check when the last time they attended was, but 1908 is the last time they won. And last time the Cleveland was actually in the World Series. Anybody know? Correct? Who'd they lose to? I think that year was the Marlins. 95 was the
Oh, gosh.
Atlanta Braves, I believe, if I remember right. I'm getting old, so it's not as easy to remember 20 years ago. I can't remember what I had for breakfast.
Same. Actually, they're really good.
Let's see. Yeah, how can you forget cinnamon?
Or Cinnabons for sure.
Is that cinnamon, was it Cinnabons? Or cinnamon?
My mom made them.
Ah,
But I can't have it.
Welcome to the club.
gluten-free ones? Oh, that is so awesome.
I'm gluten-free too and dairy-free, so I can't have most of the whole universe.
My grandma
How do you
Dairy-free,
live?
but I buy stuff. Well, my mom makes it without the stuff.
Oh, that's good.
My grandma jokes about how she's allergic to everything. There's like this cartoon. It's like a plate of ice cubes, and it says like gluten-free, dairy-free, grass-fed, GMO, and it like lists all of these allergies out, and, like free, and it's like a plate of ice cubes.
About right. Water. Well, it's kind of weird that we're starting to get into these, some of these allergies that are so severe. More and more people are having, there are more and more peanut allergies. There's more and more, I mean, there are people that if they smell the peanut, they can start having an allergic reaction. That's how bad it is.
The ones
You
that
can't
like
even
freak
go,
me out are the ones that are like allergic to the sun.
Yeah.
you can't,
Well, my brother's girlfriend is vegan, and it's the saddest thing I've ever heard in my life because she'll come over and we'll be eating dinner and my dad will make like the best meat because he knows how to make meat. And she'll be like, I can't eat that. So I'll be like, can you eat pasta? She's like, I mean, I can, but I don't really want to. Like, what do you eat? She goes, well, I eat potatoes.
I eat
Does she
potatoes.
eat-
Lettuce and potatoes is not
does she eat
healthy.
veggies?
She does, and she doesn't like broccoli or like a lot of things. I mean, a lot of people don't like broccoli. I love broccoli.
I love broccoli.
I've seen-
Broccoli with cheese on it.
Yeah,
Yes,
Cheese.
yes.
on a baked potato.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, but seriously, it's really.
Why do we have a lot
Potatoes with broccoli with cheese on it, but you can't eat
I'm
that
like,
because
how are you
I
eating
don't
cheese?
know.
Cheese, but I don't honestly.
Has anybody ever had hot water? You know those little tiny creamers?
Yes, I
Yeah,
like
like
hot water.
Those creamers in hot water. It's actually not bad.
Just drinking hot water.
Hot water with creamers in it.
I had a whole
That's
week
Drink, I'll
of
take plain creamer.
Okay, so anything else in the news?
Ohio State got put in their place.
Yeah, Ohio State, well, they've looked bad the last couple of weeks, so I was not surprised that they lost.
I murdered someone in my fantasy.
Did you?
Yeah.
You want to be saying that you murdered somebody live on the internet?
Well, I won
It's
my chosen first for soccer.
Oh, there you go. Cool. How many
You
goals you
lost
got?
like 3 games.
No, we
How
didn't.
many
We
goals?
lost one, 2 games.
How on earth did you
Because
do that?
everyone else lost and we've only won another than 2 games, so.
How many goals have you scored?
Three?
That's it?
Three? Yeah, well, I don't,
It's only a sophomore in high school league.
I don't play, like, I get more assists than I do goals. I think it's 6 assists.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
That's cool. Nothing wrong with that. Yes.
A 10th woman came forward and said that Trump had done whatever to her. Probably another lie.
We don't know. It's not surprising that people are coming forward. I mean, that's what they waited for. That's why they were actually hoping that Trump would win the election. Let's see. Trying to think. Oh, the Cavs get their banner hung tomorrow as well. And they get their national championship ring. So we got the Indians playing tomorrow, the Cavaliers playing tomorrow, getting their rings. So it'll be a busy day. Don't go to Cleveland tomorrow.
Probably not.
Stay home watching on TV,
Watch
which
the
I
ball.
probably won't do that either. I get too nervous watching. If they go up 3-0, then I may watch a couple of games. But then if the Cubs come back and tie it, then I'll be like, yeah, I'm not gonna watch games then.
I can't watch games on TV because I'll end up breaking it. Because I'm so competitive. It's ridiculous.
Oh, it's bad, you know.
Like, I tried, I don't even like football, but I think it was last year or something, I was watching the, football thing. Whatever
Which
it's
one?
called.
The NFL or
The Super
Bowl.
the Super Bowl?
It's like that, whatever it's called. And like, I really don't like football, but I was getting really into it at my friend's house, and I was screaming, you can't watch games with me because
I could believe
I
that.
would be afraid.
it's bad. Or like the World Cup for soccer, I just can't. It's too hard.
Let's go to,
Did they win? They won last year or
Yeah.
year before. Nice.
Last, yeah.
Keep forgetting, how much does a teammate get for winning a World Cup? Is it 60 million or 6 million? I think it's 60.
I think so.
could be.
I looked that up here.
So one of the things that I quickly wanted to go over is
The preamble.
Constitution. So the preamble, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. You notice it doesn't say Constitution of the United States of America. It says Constitution for the United States of America. It's the Constitution that basically creates the United States. So what they're saying there is for the United States. First two articles, Article 1, or the first 5 articles. Article 1 is the legislature, probably the most important group. You know, the legislature, back when they first formed this, did not meet that often. They only met for a short period of time, and then the representatives would go back and do their normal jobs. So they didn't get paid to be the representative. They had other jobs that they did, and then they would come back and they'd meet for a while, and then they would go on recess and go back and make money. So this idea of a full-time politician is more of a recent kind of, well, recent in historical terms is more like, 100 years or so. But it's not how it was. That's why the executive had certain powers, is because the executive is the one who really was there all the time, doing the job of running the country, not the legislature. Then also you had the judiciary, which again would be a more full-time position. They would be hearing cases. But even in that case, when you got to the Supreme Court was something that was not in session all the time. They would only hear cases during a certain period of time. Then Article 4, you get into the federal and the state relationship and how that works. Article 5 is how to amend the Constitution. And then after that, of course, the first part of the Constitution, or the first amendments to the Constitution we call the Bill of Rights. Why are they called the Bill of Rights?
Because they gave like the rights to the people.
They spelled out what rights the people had and what rights the federal government did not have. One of the things that every person should know, those first 10 amendments and the importance of them. Because in there is the freedom of the press, the right to bear arms, which a lot of people say, a lot of the liberal interpretation of that is it means that the state can have a well-regulated militia. It does not grant personal rights to own guns. Well, of course, the debate is with the NRA and the more conservative side is no, this is not a state's right. This is a people's right to bear arms. If we took the same, if we gave the same measure to the right of the freedom of the press, then what that would allow is it would allow the federal government to regulate the press. The problem that you have today is the press is probably in bed with government more than anybody. Just watch the news and you can see who they're siding for based on the scandals. If they truly were unbiased, Hillary would never gotten elected. If the press truly was unbiased, Donald Trump probably would not make it to the through the nomination process either. But because we have a biased media, they basically try to pick who's going to be the candidate, and they kept giving Trump more and more press time, and a lot of the other candidates got less and less. So that's a problem. Also, if you look at the Constitution, there are two organizations outside of government that get constitutional protection. What are they? I mentioned one. I'm not talking the state and the people. The state, the people, and the federal government make up government. So who's the one who are the two other entities that have protection of the Constitution that aren't in there? That aren't part of the government? No. This would be an entity, a part of, it would be, I guess, a collection of people. So I mentioned one of them earlier when I was talking about the freedom of the
Press?
Yes. So the press, it actually has constitutional protection. There's one other entity that has constitutional protection. What would it be? Where do you go on Sunday?
Oh, religion.
Yes. Why? Why do those two entities have constitutional protection? Think about that.
Because both of those were persecuted when England was in power.
Somewhat, but that's not quite what I'm looking for. Why would you want to protect religious freedom and protect also the press?
To keep the government in check. Because
Correct. That's exactly what is supposed to happen. The government and the press and religion are the two objects that are more likely to control the government. Is either one of those doing that today? Mm-mm. What happens to churches if they decide to speak out against the candidate? What would happen to them? Well, not necessarily cut their heads off, but that only happens over in the Middle East by ISIS. But what would happen to a church if they decided that they were going to endorse a candidate? Now, a pastor can endorse a candidate, but he can't do that from the pulpit. Yes.
Media would get after him with separation of church.
Far worse than that. the federal government, they would lose their tax exempt status, which would have two implications, meaning that the church would have to start paying taxes. Secondly, your gifts would no longer be tax deductible to your church. So that means if you gave money to your church, you would no longer be able to write that off as a tax deduction, whereas today, you can do that. This is why churches don't really speak out against candidates. It's because of that, which really is a way, in a way, the government is controlling the church. So just something to think about. The 10th Amendment, what is it? The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Now you guys did a little activity page on this. Do we follow the 10th Amendment today? Do the states have really any power? Some, but how much really? Yeah, a little. The local states can try to control, you know, who's going to run for Congress and when they have their elections and stuff like that. So they can control some of that. But in reality, the state is not where it was during the founders. It has some power. Now there's a move out there by a couple of groups that call, some of them are called 10th Amendment groups. Some of them are states' rights groups. They basically mean the same thing. And what they're after is protecting states' rights and getting more of those rights back. And they want to actually pass 2 constitutional amendments that basically would allow if all after the Obamacare or Affordable Care Act, or the non-Affordable Care Act, as many of us would like to call it, the Affordable Care Act was passed. It was kind of done underhandedly and against what the majority of people wanted. And so there's a push out there during that time period to get a constitutional amendment passed that would allow states to nullify a law. What would happen is you'd have to have 2/3 of the state legislatures would have to vote to nullify the law. So what you'd have to get is 2/3 of all the states. They would say, nope, don't like this law, it's null and void. Boom, the law is automatically null and void, which would give a little bit more power back to the states. I don't quite remember what the second one is. I'll have to look up what that other amendment was, but that was 2, or one of them. The other amendment that's out there that people are trying to pass is a balanced budget amendment, which I don't. Depending on what form it is, I am not in favor of it. What they want to do is they want to force the federal government to balance the budget. The problem is our balanced budget is not a tax problem, it's a spending problem. Well, if, let's say, the government passes a law that we have to balance the budget, are they going to cut you think they'll cut their spending? They're going to go and say, hey, I can just see all these guys. Well, you know, we tried our hardest to cut as much spending as we could. We just couldn't do it. So we are required by law to raise your taxes. We're so sorry. We didn't want to do this, but we are required to do this. So don't blame us. And that's exactly what they would do. They would force a increase in taxes automatically on everybody, which would then again cripple this country because we would no longer be competitive. So yes.
So I forget which of the Bush presidents it was, but one of them like gave that famous line about no new taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So did he ever keep that promise?
No, he didn't. He raised taxes. He was Ronald Reagan towards the end of his career actually raised taxes. He was promised by the Democrats in the House of Representatives that if he raised taxes slightly, that what they would do is they would cut spending for every dollar of tax revenue that he increased. they would cut spending by $2. Well, they never even came close to that. In fact, the budget never went down. So one of the things that I often drives me nuts is people blame Reagan for budget deficits. The budget is actually controlled and all spending goes through the House of Representatives. They didn't cut their spending. Reagan did increase spending on the military, but for the most part, he did not. Now, this is last year's numbers, so I don't know what they are. But one of the big things that gets done a lot by both the left and the right is they claim how many executive orders these people are writing. And somebody the other day said, or this was last year, their claim was that Barack Obama has passed more executive orders. What an executive order is, it's kind of like the legislation that comes from the president. He passes this executive order, he signs it, and basically it's a form of law. If we have time at the end, I'll play you the parody. It's pretty funny. But what it does, and so what they claim is that Barack Obama has signed somewhere 900 executive orders, but then they also, the same people claim that George W. Bush only signed 62. You know, they're making it seem like, oh my goodness, Obama, he has signed 900 and some. He's taken the power over the government. You got to get him out of there. And then compare that to George W. Bush. He only did 62. When we look at the actual numbers, George W. Bush did 291 when he was in office. As of last year, Barack Obama's 138. Probably by the time he's done, he'll probably be close to right around somewhere between Bush and Bill Clinton. So Ronald Reagan did 381, which is more than Bill Clinton did. The highest was Franklin Roosevelt. The second highest was Theodore Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt, even though he was a Republican, we would consider him pretty much a progressive. He's the one who a lot of people go, oh, he's great, he set up the national parks. Yes, but he's also set it up so that people like presidents in the future, like Barack Obama, can set aside land so that they can't be used for drilling, or you can't use it for grazing, or things like that, that has been used for many years, hundreds of years before that. In fact, do you guys remember hearing about the standoff out in out west? I can't remember what state it was, but there were a bunch of ranchers that were upset with the federal government because they were letting their cattle graze on this land, and it caused a dispute. Started getting upset. The government sent armed agents out there. The ranchers all showed up with their guns, and there was like kind of this like mini standoff. And actually, I think somebody was actually killed. One of the ranchers actually got killed. But the thing about it was because they set aside some land that said they couldn't use it anymore. Yes.
So which side won?
I don't know. You know, the press. You know, that's one of those things they like to build up what happens, but then they don't end up fulfilling the end of the. They never tell you the conclusion in many respects. So that's just kind of something that I always find interesting. Don't believe everything you read or hear, especially if it's on the internet, because a lot of times it's probably wrong. Do your own research on some of this stuff, because a lot of times people like to do these things to make a point. And it's like, yeah, you're immediately discredited with me the minute you lie or exaggerate about something. And yeah, I don't care if you're on the right, if you're conservative on the right, or you're a liberal on the left. The minute you start to lie about it, you've lost all credibility with me. Okay, one of the things I wanted to cover real quick, tutorial essay. Everybody doing okay?
I'm done with mine, just gotta go back and try to.
Okay, cool, good, because that is due next week.
How many, did you say like 18 slides or something?
Anywhere from 10 to 20 slides is pretty good,
Yeah, 12.
depending on how you do your pictures too, and the topic. Some topics, it's hard to get a lot of pictures, okay? So you might have a problem with that, yes?
Do we have enough like informational slides that we able to put like just picture slides in there?
Yeah, you don't have to have, you're really trying to tell a story, not just with the words, but with the pictures. So like the examples I showed you, it's about keeping the words pretty concise. And probably the biggest problem that people have is they'll use like a dark background like this, and their text will be dark and it'll be hard to read. So make sure you're balancing your background with the color of your text as best as you can so that it's legible. The other thing is, if you're going to put your picture and put the text over top of the picture, be careful, because sometimes if the picture's dark but there's some white areas, your words won't show up there either. So be careful how you do that. Yes?
So are we supposed to like email it to you?
You can bring it in, you can email it to me. Sometimes some of them, depending on the pictures you're using, can get up pretty good size, you know, to almost 10 meg and bigger. And so it's hard to email something like that, or I think, was it? Yeah, I think somebody last year, it was like 20 megs in size with their actual picture, or their pictorial essay. So they brought it in on a jump drive, just stuck it in. So it's easier if you can, you can email it, just email it to me. Anybody here use Dropbox? You guys ever use Dropbox?
Figure it out.
Yeah, Dropbox is a great thing because you get like, I think 500 megs to 2 gigs worth of storage space. And then what you can do, or if you use Google Drive, or if you use any of those online things, that you can actually send me a link to the file, and then I can download the file if you need to do it that way.
Chose who I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do CSS.
CSS would be good.
Oh, CSS is good.
Yeah.
Go-to.
Any other questions on the pictorial essay? I wanted to make sure we talked about that and had plenty of time. Yes?
What if it's like a whole lot of slides, like say 50, but it fits in 5?
Cut it down.
Okay,
It's probably too many.
I'm gonna have to cut mine down.
And this person just has to be like born in America, right?
No, not necessarily. I mean, there are people, you know, if we go with the founders, like John Smith wasn't born here in America. Of course, it'd be hard to find some pictures of him, but, you know.
Just use the ones from Pocahontas, guys.
Yeah, can't use it. Just none of the music, please.
I love Pocahontas.
So they don't necessarily have to be born here, but they would have to have an impact here. A great example would be Albert Einstein. People have done Albert Einstein. He wasn't born here, but he had a huge impact here in the United States with what he was doing. So that would be somebody who had an impact in American history. So like that would work. So
No or yes?
you can have music in the background, just not Pocahontas.
What's wrong with Pocahontas?
I don't need it playing in my head.
It's pagan music.
I don't mind the music. It's just my daughter watched that movie so many times, along with Beauty and the Beast. It's like,
I love Beauty and the Beast. It's one of
it's
my
like
favorites.
Frozen.
Whoa.
Aaron was
If you
like,
guys bring in and get that kind of music stuck in my head, you'll be coming in and I'll be playing Frozen every day.
Oh, no, don't do
For
that.
payback.
I'll watch that.
Okay, so we're gonna look at the Federalist years, chapter 8. That's what you covered this week, right? Chapter 8. Okay, launching the new government, Washington's cabinet. These are some of these things that you need to know. Who was in Washington cabinet? Anybody remember one? At least one person. Come on. Thomas Jefferson. What was he?
I don't.
Go ahead. Yeah, go.
Oh,
What was his role? Do you remember?
Secretary of War.
Department of State.
Department of State. Yes. That's okay. You're allowed to use your book. What about who else? What was Alexander Hamilton?
He was I really don't like you. The treasury.
Yes, very good. Probably the two most instrumental people in there. Who was Washington's VP?
Oh.
Maybe not. Oh, wait.
Pinkett? Yes,
I don't know.
I think so.
Pinkett.
I don't remember.
Pinkett.
We forget, like VPs for like like jokes. People, you ask people today, who's Barack Obama's vice president? I don't know, that guy who says those goofy things.
I forgot who.
That's usually what people, it's Joe
I
Biden,
know who it is now, but I forgot who.
who was President George W. Bush's VP.
His son.
No, the last Bush. Was Dick Cheney, who they always made fun of in Saturday Night Live. I love the skits for Saturday Night Live. I didn't mind, because they actually were respectful when they were making a little bit of fun at Bush a couple times. They had Bush standing there, and they always made, to feel so bad for Bush because they made him stupid, and he's not a stupid guy. He's actually very, very smart.
Okay, so on the homework, there was the one, like, where we had to like write down Washington's cabinets, and there were 4, but they, like, it was hidden, like the first one was like really hidden, and then we had to find it.
So,
You just separated on the names, right?
So George W. Bush, during the Saturday Night Live skit, what they did is Dick Cheney had a pacemaker, and so they would in the middle of the skit, all of a sudden Cheney would go, "Oh, I just died again." And it was just like so funny, the guy that they had doing that. And then of course Dick Cheney took I don't remember who it was, he took some notable guy out hunting and ended up inadvertently shooting the poor guy with birdshot. So I mean, it didn't kill him, but it hurt pretty bad. So there was a lot of jokes about who's Dick Cheney taking hunting this week?
Obama.
No.
Hillary.
So also, one of the things you're going to want to know is the Judiciary Act of 1789. Of course, the Bill of Rights. Who proposed the Bill of Rights?
The husband.
No. James.
Yes, James Madison. That is correct. Very good. James Madison is kind of the founder, known as one of the founders of the Constitution. The Judiciary Act of 1789 organized 13 districts of court, 1 for each state, and 3 circuit courts to handle appeals, and set the number of Supreme Court justices at 6. Washington. How many Supreme Court justices do we have today?
Are there 9?
Correct. So originally there were only 6. Roosevelt proposed that when he talked about stacking the court, he was talking about adding more people to the Supreme Court, not removing people off the Supreme Court, putting new people on, but actually increasing the number of people on the Supreme Court when he talked about his court stacking and pushing through some of the things that he wanted done. Alexander Hamilton, a guy I actually like, but I don't as a person, but he was wrong. He was a big government guy. He actually wanted a national bank, and I am totally against a national bank. What happens when you have a national bank is it allows the government to control interest rates. It allows the government to control and regulate the banking industry to such an extent where people can't go in and get loans, or in the case of today, they use the power of the judiciary and the authority of the executive branch to force banks to give loans to people who aren't ready to get loans, rather than training people or teaching people how to apply for a loan, how to get ready for a loan, and giving it to people that are ready for it. They were giving a lot of loans, bad debt, to people that weren't able to pay it back. And that actually started under Bill Clinton. So that's one of those things that happened. So what is the idea of a strict constitutionalist and a loose constitutionalist?
Strict constitutionalists, like following the law of the court.
Yes. And a loose one, how would you describe that?
I want to feel the rules.
Yeah, they looked at it that a loose constitutionalists believed that the Constitution was a framework to give us so that we could then utilize it to make things better for people. We would say today that Barack Obama is a loose constitutionalist. And Ted Cruz would be more of our ideal of somebody who's a strict constitutionalist. More, I would say probably Hillary is definitely a loose constitutionalist. And I would say probably Trump is ignorant to the Constitution. It'd probably be a better way of putting it for Trump. But the thing that's nice about Trump is he's putting people around him who tend to be a little bit more leaning on the strict side than the full loose side of things. So it's just a matter of, depending on who wins, we'll see what happens. Let's see, also, you have one of the things that happened under Washington is a couple of things that he said to stay out of were two. One is don't have political parties. Number two was stay out of foreign entanglements. They will just get you into trouble. So what we have though is during this time, you have the Federalists and the Republican, or what we call the Democratic Republicans, are the two political parties that start forming during this period of time. You have foreign feuds. Also, you have the Proclamation of Neutrality that came under Washington, and the Jay's Treaty, which is named after, anybody remember who that was named after? John Jay, very good. And what was the treaty about?
I don't know, but didn't he like joke about how he could like walk down the street and by the light of all the effigies being burned of him?
Could be. The Jay Treaty was the best that could be hoped for. By the narrowest of margin, the treaty cleared the Senate. Though throughout the treaty was a betrayal, and Jay grimly observed that he could travel through the country by night by the light of burning effigies. So Washington dispatched Chief Justice John Jay to London to settle American-British differences, including Britain's dusty promise to remove all troops from Northwest Territory and to settle pre-war debts. After difficult negotiations, Jay returned with the treaty. It seemed to gain little more from Britain than an agreement to keep her promise made in the Treaty of Paris. So basically, it really wasn't much of a treaty at all. And the Whiskey Rebellion. What was the Whiskey Rebellion? They all drank whiskey. A bunch of guys got drunk, had a big party, and they burned the town down. Sounds like Detroit after one of their teams wins a championship. No. So let's see. Discontent over Hamilton's economic policies had been simmering. Wait, to tell you the truth, if our economic practices today happened back during Washington's time, then our government would not have lasted. Many of the states would have pulled out. But we put up with a lot of the stuff that goes on today. What's the story? How do you cook a frog? You put it in a pot of cool water, and then you slowly turn the heat up till by the time it realizes that it's actually going to be dinner, it's too late and it's dead. Same with government. You want to choke people off, you incrementally increase government regulations.
I went to a CDC open house the other day and I was talking to someone and he said in their anatomy class they dissected a cat. And I'm
Yep.
like, oh, like, I couldn't do that. Like,
That's awful.
Yeah.
I have so many cats. I have 5 cats.
I love cats.
I used
But
to have
you need
one.
to get rid of
I used
it.
to have 50, yeah.
CDC.
I used to have 15
That's so cute.
So many of the farmers saw little difference between the whiskey tax and the Stamp Act. All along the frontier, the whiskey boys were grumbling and looking for a way to avoid the tax and tax collection.
Bad boy band. The Whiskey
The
Boys.
Whiskey Boys, the Whiskey
I
Boys.
know, I was just thinking about it.
Justin Bieber's new group. Oh wait, he's known for smoking marijuana.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So they end up having, the Whiskey Rebellion, Washington had to crush it, he sent 13,000 troops there, took care of that problem. Yes,
One thing I found funny on page 157, about halfway down, it says, for his part, Washington deplored political parties.
Yep.
Now I know where Hillary came from. Deplorable.
deplorable, yeah, she was reading probably our Bob Jones book and, you know, yeah,
Yeah, she's an MFP.
it's just deplorable. Also during, one of the other things is, declining Federalist influences. President John Adams, courage to do what is right and go against his party. The quasi-war, these are some of the things that John Adams did. The Alien and Sedition Acts, the Kentucky Resolution and Jefferson. So, you know, even though our founders talked about free speech, they weren't too keen on free speech if it went against what they were believing. So the anti-French sentiment that swept the country in the late 1790s provided the Federalists with an important political opportunity since Jefferson and his Republicans had been identified with the French, caused from the beginning. The Alien and Sedition Acts, the Federalists controlled Congress sought to silence their political oppositions. 3 of the acts, restriction on immigration, particularly the French and Irish. So, yeah, ended up, only of course 10 people were convicted under the Sedition Act, which basically accused you with treason. So, you're gonna wanna know something about that. So, we may talk about, oh, the federal government's never been this bad, it's never, you know, they're squashing speech. Yeah, that happened right in the beginning. Don't let anybody catch you.
Beginning and the end.
The election of 1800, who ran for president, who won, and how did they win? Who won in 1800?
Was it Jefferson?
Yes, it was Thomas Jefferson.
Oh.
Against who?
I forget.
Wasn't it?
Adams, John Adams?
No, that was 17. Wait, what? Hold up. Yeah, John Adams.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, Republican shows Jefferson and Burr, and the Federalists picked Adams and Pinckney. Only Pinckney was Charles Cosworth's brother, Thomas, because the results. They had not been so serious. The Federalist electors arranged to have one of their electors not vote for Pinckney so as to distinguish between their presidential and vice presidential candidates. Adams received 65, his running mate Pinckney 64. The Republicans could have learned something from their Federalist votes. The Republicans electors each cast vote for both Jefferson and Burr, giving them a tie at 73. As a result, the election was thrown into the House of Representatives for the Federalists, and control of Congress decided between the lesser of 2 Republican evils. After a lengthy deadlock, Jefferson, considered by the reluctant kingmakers to be slightly less Republican than Burr, was elected president. So remember, Jefferson did not win the election outright. So it had to go to the House of Representatives. And the House of Representatives appointed. Kind of sounds, you know, everybody, yeah, they made a president. It's how it's supposed to happen. If you look at the prior presidential election for George W. Bush against Al Gore. Now when you do Al Gore, it's not Al Gore, it's Al Gore. It's like you got to put the name all together and say it really quick, because then it sounds like Frankenstein's helper, Igor, Al Gore. So there's some parodies of that. It's pretty funny. So that election was kind of very, very controversial. And you had, of course, John Adams with his midnight appointments, and that went to court, and you're going to want to know some of that. Okay, Now, you have a test coming up this week. Here are our 2 essay questions. Discuss the 3 stages provided by the Northwest Ordinance that a region went through in order to become a state. So, I will send them to you. So, you don't have to write these down. I will send them to you. But I wanted to make sure you guys understood what these were. You guys remember these?
I know the second question.
This was back under the Northwest Ordinance. So I'm trying to find that in. Yeah, there it is. Let's see. Page 135. Let's see. The ordinance divided new lands. Each lot was to be sold, and then 136. Northwest where settlement each. So you just need to put this in your own words. So you can find the answer to this first question on page 136. Now, page, the 5 principles, there's actually 6. You only need to get 5 of the 6 on this second one. That's why I say 5. You can find these, discuss the 5 principles of government contained in the American Constitution. They are found starting on page 7. They are the headings. Republican ideology. So if you go to 142, chapter 7.
You said page 7.
I'm sorry, did I say page 7? I meant chapter 7. Page 142, chapter 7. Their first one is Republican ideology. This was actually one of your questions in chapter 7 last week. So Republican ideology, limited government, separation of powers, checks and balance, federalism, and popular sovereignty. You only need to do 5 of the 6. You don't have to do all 6. Now, notice this key word here in front. Discuss. It doesn't mean, oh, the 5 principles of of the Constitution are, and list them. It means discuss. It means, what does popular sovereignty mean? What does checks and balances mean? What is federalism? What is separation of powers? What is limited government? So that means, like, you should have like a little mini paragraph for each one, like limited government. Now, your first sentence could be the 5 of the 6 principles that contained in the American Constitution are, and list them out, and then go in and discuss what each one of them does. So that's what that word discuss means. I often go through that because a lot of people will be like, just write them down. Okay, so you get 5 out of the 15 points. That's what I give you. Then I might dock you another one for not putting the essay form. Yes?
So like under Republican ideology, all the titles under that, like limited government, separation of powers, are those what we're looking for?
Republican ideology is one of the subtitles. The big title is constitutional principles above in that page. Do you see that?
So we're just trying to look for the things that underneath constitutional principles.
Correct.
Like that.
Yes, and each one of those headings are one of those. So you see that? So constitutional principles. That's 1, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, and number 6. That's what we're looking for.
That looks somewhat easy. Yay. Thanks.
Questions are not meant to be hard. They're meant for you to remember something. Because most people don't understand these things. And that's why we have such a problem. Any other questions? See, that'd be quick and easy, 30 points. Should be no problem. And when you're describing these 3 stages, what I'm looking for is, how does the stage start? What gets it to the next stage? What also do they have as part of that stage? So when you're looking on page, what they say, 136? So 136, I mean, it gives you these to you. The Northwest Territory would be divided into at least 3, but no more than 5 states. Each would would-be state went through 3 stages. In the first stage, the region remained almost completely under direct control of the federal government. That's what I want to know. Second part, when a region had at least 5,000 free inhabitants, make sure you have free in there, it entered the second stage and became a territory. The people could then elect a legislature and send a representative to Congress. However, the governor, still appointed by the national government, could veto any act. This is how you get your 15 points, by hitting every one of these. And remember, it is an open book test. And like you were saying, hey, can I outline this before? Yes. I would highly recommend doing that, because then it makes it easy. Yes.
Are we allowed to use our outlines on the test,
No.
take our notes?
No notes. You're allowed to use the book.
Are we allowed
But
to take
there's,
notes
like-
about the book?
I think there's room in here to write stuff. in
Mine
your
already has.
book.
Sorry.
Like that. See, you can write stuff in your book like that. That's why it's an open book. You say open note. I can make an open note, but then you wouldn't get to use the book.
Because then you just outline the whole.
Well, that's what I send you in the what you need to know document, which I'll send that out too. Also, one quick thing, and then we'll take a break. 2 weeks is the Answers in Genesis conference. There are things going on from 9. There's a class here at 9 a.m. Dinosaurs in the Bible, and that's really for grades K through 6. If some of you want to hear about dinosaurs in the Bible, you could be here. At 11 o'clock, Science Confirms the Bible. It's geared towards grades 7 through 12. So if you guys want to go, you can go. That is supposed to be done sometime around noon, and maybe a little bit longer. It might go to 12:30. So we're going to postpone our class to 1 on that day. We will have 2 abbreviated classes. We will combine history and government. So history will go probably 30 to 40 minutes, and then, so you guys will be out of here at your normal time at 2:30, but we'll have it a little bit shorter classes. So you might go a little bit longer than normal, but, okay? Yes?
Could you send that in an email, please?
Yes, I'm gonna send that in an email, but I wanted to say it to you because sometimes some of you hear better than you read. Any other questions? Okay. See you guys in a few minutes, except for Devin.
See you guys.
Bye, Devin.
They know my face.
Somebody sent you another clown?
Alex sent me a scary clown.
Oh,
Careful
my
on
goodness.
and they go to sleep.
They know I'm here.
You made a clown?
Oh, no.
You made a clown
My
costume.
immunity has been reviewed.
Halloween on Monday.
Abort.
You're going to be in this room on Halloween. I've already got my costume planned.
Wait, what?
I have a disease.
What's the disease?
And it's like,
You put your foot in your mouth, or you put your foot in your mouth a lot?
no, it's like it's what the thing is on my the one thing. And then I have two more.
Don't touch me.
I had mouth that my siblings had it. And I stayed far away from them.
Wait, see it, where is he?
Mom.
Yeah, but I'm going down there on
He's so tiny. Isn't he so cute? Not nearly as cute as
I like this shirt.
Oh, I'm sorry, did you want to see it?
Just forget it.
That was like,
I didn't know, I thought you were watching over there. It's Ted.
Oh.
Also, this, I got it. I see it.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, we're done.
we're down here.
Everyone said they were leaving.
This is blowing my mind right now. Hang on.
need time.
I'm living on like 22 hours.
Mary Kate, like.
Hey, guess what? I'm living on
Mary Kate.
0. All of my money went to Costco parking.
Why?
Because I'm broke. I only had $5.
It's my favorite.
Because I was at the hospital all day on Thursday, Friday.
Why were you at the hospital?
If you like,
Like,
if you park in the parking garage, you know how it's like, if you don't stay in there.
I saw that.
If you don't stay in there for more than 10 minutes, you have to pay.
What?
You know how like if you stay in a parking garage, if you don't stay in there for like more than 10 minutes, you have to pay?
Yeah.
It's like, when you go back out to your car, just grab your ticket and just leave.
That's so
You are
bad.
so inappropriate.
Why?
How? How
I
are we
don't
not
think you
gonna
can,
arrest
I
it
think
yet?
they, besides they film you.
Yeah, they would come
Did
back.
you look at who went in my car yet?
No, I didn't get a chance to. Besides, I think you were parked in an area that wasn't covered by the camera, sorry.
Oh, because it said I had 2 comments. I was wondering who.
Your sunset issue last night, Emily?
So good.
This morning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's this morning.
It was last night, but I had to edit it a lot because the camera like destroyed it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
thanks though.
Oh,
I'm going to your last one.
someone should come to an all-nighter with me this Friday. I don't know. What's the date?
Is this who we were talking about? Like, who are you talking about?
This is one of my best friends from camp.
Okay.
And like my entire youth group said that we were dating because he drove 2 hours to come to my birthday party. Because he's just an awesome guy. He's the best. It was so awkward.
I just thought it was the other conversation we were having
No.
yesterday.
Yeah, because he did what?
Glenn died.
You watched that?
What?
Yeah, I heard about it.
If I ever
Watch it.
watched it, why did you just ruin it?
Yeah, him. That's what I was asking about.
Glenn-
Yeah, no. Yes. I don't know.
Yeah,
Wait,
you're
I
talking
you're
about.
talking Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah. Are you done with stream? I was
No,
going to take
I'm-
some more because I haven't
I'm
gotten
at
enough.
Glenn's house on Thursday.
He drove 2 hours.
No. Okay, you have to tell me what you think because.
But you were talking about him.
Yes.
I thought L was a boy. I was like, okay, this is Will, like,
Right.
and no.
And then I was like, oh, guess not. She just doesn't have a hair.
Kelly.
Emily.
Kelly.
Emily. Wait, no, keep reading. You missed the good part. It was, yeah, it's a good show.
Yeah. But
What?
my friend's house.
What? I know.
If you're coming back, or we can-
Oh my gosh, what?
It was so weird. Like, I was in the basement watching and see, I had some like, the most awkward 20 minutes of my life. My brother and I, oh my gosh, well, anyways, we were in the kitchen on Thursday, and like, I'm so sorry. He's like, you're missing the point. He was really emotional. His girlfriend is very innocent. So,
Ellie.
it was like,
Ellie, you're doing up.
I know, right? No, it's so annoying. Celery, you're such a good girl. Fine.
Graduated
Right.
high school.
And I was, you know what? It's a struggle. I feel it. I know exactly how you feel. And then I don't know, but somehow we found to like how we're supposed to help each other out when we're not happy. And then I was, I'm just gonna.
Ellie.
I don't know.
You remember
Sometimes.
the summer student?
Yes, you guys.
Like,
In the kitchen.
hospital Fridays, Ellie leaving, he was coming to work. He works at LA. At the hospital.
Okay.
Yeah. So I like ran into him randomly and I was like, how are you?
I know. We were at a party the other day and I'm like, I know that kid. How the heck do I know that kid? I'm not gonna talk to him. And then in the car afterwards, Mom's like, did you see him? I said, did you see him? Did you talk to him? Did he go to Colorado? Like, there was the way back to
And then I was like,
God, he's on a curve
I
strike.
was seeing trying to have my bracelets on.
He was here, like,
And I
we were like,
I found out between the crack of the prep two and the seal, and I heard it shatter, and I'm like, oh my goodness, please tell me it didn't, like, break. And it didn't. It has like one crack in that. And it was a
What
whole
was that face for?
And then I lost my ring, and I went all the way to there, and my found it.
What?
The story, bro.
He's a terrible person. He's not actually. He's just
Why?
ow.
Did you hear about Hannah?
Yeah, I was in the middle of that,
I'm sorry.
and I had to deal with it, and it was awful.
Like Hannah told me like.
Yeah, she tells everyone so she can get all
No,
the
okay.
safety.
No, I don't think it was like that, cause like when we were at the showing,
No, it was. It definitely was.
Oh, okay.
But anyways.
when we were at the showing, she was like showing me all these like text messages and how he couldn't be and we were the next day she was texting me like, what is it?
Oh. It makes it sound a lot creepier than it actually was.
What?
She makes it sound so much worse than it actually was. Like, it wasn't
Huh?
even that bad.
No, cause he is pure. With some of the stuff he said.
I mean, he is, but in text it sounds a lot worse.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But considering they weren't actually like dating.
Well,
I think
they
the real
were
screws are closed.
Yeah.
until you don't up there.